to click that and fire off your questions, and we'll be happy to answer them as we go through tonight. So let me get my screen share going and we'll dive right in. So this house is up in Brunswick, Maine, as part of a subdivision. So we built 4 houses, and we'll have one more coming in, I think, in the next 2 months. So tonight we're going to show this house. Future events we'll show off the other houses that are up there as well. So let me gather my documents here. Just so we can test out that feature. For those of you in the audience, go ahead and hit that question and answer button and let us know where you're tuning in from. I'm a small home advisor in Massachusetts, and Jeff is the small home advisor in Maine. So if you like tonight's presentation and you want to know more afterwards, feel free to either reach out to myself if you're in Massachusetts, or to Jeff, or if you're outside of Massachusetts or Maine, pick either one of us and shoot us an email, and we'll be happy to guide you as possible. Awesome. So people are tuning in from Cape Cod, from New Hampshire, from Topsom, from Williamsburg, Mass, or in Marshfield, Mass. So awesome. We got a good mix tonight. All right. I got to be able to share my screen here. Thank you so much for coming. A couple more technical difficulties here. Great. Awesome. All right. We're still working out a couple Zoom kinks here. But Jeff was actually involved in the construction of this home. So Jeff's going to kind of be my color commentary tonight. So as I go through those floor plans, Jeff's going to highlight some things that they worked on, do that finishing process. All right, I'm ready to go here. So we'll dive right into the Matterport here. Let me make this full screen. So we're going to start off in the kitchen area. And these clients, when we worked with them in the design phase, they highlighted the kitchen as a house. They love to cook, they love to host. So when we designed the kitchen with them, they wanted to have not, kind of all the bells and whistles. So we designed to have full-size appliances, a full eat-in island, as well as this auxiliary space over here. And this kind of was the center of their house. So they splurged to have this super large kitchen, but it really is gorgeous, and it turned out so well. Kind of some standard features, cabinets, tile backsplashes, quartz countertop. But as you go through that design phase, you're able to work your home advisor to pick out exactly what you want and what's going to fit your budget and what's going to make the most sense being done in a factory environment versus done on site. Awesome. So my image here is kind of standing in this flex space. So the key of this house that we identified during that design phase is to build for where this couple is at now. It's just themselves, but they wanted to plan to have space in the future as the family grows. So as we go through a tour here tonight, you'll see that we have a single story that is on top of a full basement with a walkout portion. And the goal here during this design phase was to fit everything in that first floor that they needed now, while allowing for these spaces in the future where they could either go up or go down into that full walkout basement to add bedroom, to add living space. So obviously the large eat-in kitchen kind of have this flex space. For now, they may have a small dining room table as well as their living room here. But again, the plan for the future is for this to have a large dining room table and have this be their full functioning, kitchen and dining space all in one. And again, in the future, they'd add that living room space down to the finished basement. So for now, they have a lovely walkout deck, as well as these 3 windows that bring a ton of light in here that face southeast. So we work with them to not only design the house, but to position the house on site so they know that it's going to be a warm, light-filled, and comfortable space. As we look at this space, recessed lights are a standard for us, but also we work with clients for unique fixtures. So over this island here, the clients found these pendants that they loved, and so we're able to spec those in along with the standard recessed lighting. The trim in this house is unique. All of this trim came from a local, I believe it was from the clearing of this site. So it's all pine trim, which is a really unique feature here. We'll notice this is very bare room, but you do notice over here, there's a vent in the floor. So when we're doing our houses, they're all electric. And so what that means is we're using mini split systems for heating and cooling. And there's a bunch of different options that you can have that all function off of that heat pump. One being, in this case, ducts. So the compressor unit is outside. Inside, there's an air handler where all the air is either heated or cooled, depending on the season. And then duct work is run, and that allows these vents to temperature control every room. An alternate, which I'm sure you've seen, are heads up on the wall, and those control the temperature in each room. Or alternatively, they make sort of radiator style units that you can kind of hide in a corner that are down on the ground that work well. Awesome. Now, Jeff, being involved in the construction here, can you tell me a little bit about the flooring?
Yeah, so that's our that's life-proof flooring that we had installed. The customer got to choose the finish, the color that they wanted, and we were able to install that on site. So it came with just the subfloor, and then we put that in ourselves.
Great. Yeah, I wasn't sure exactly which product this is. We have homeowners from from all different states who some prefer the vinyl plank flooring, which has come a long way in terms of its technology, its look, its color, its grain. But you can also go the more traditional route of finished hardwood floors. Awesome. All right, let's take a look at the rest of the first floor here. So the bathroom is a very unique feature. Let's hop in here. So again, I designed this space knowing that this is the bathroom that's going to serve them now, but when they expand, they'll be able to add a bathroom in the finished basement downstairs, or alternatively, if they go up to the second floor, they could bring a bathroom up there as well. So in this case, the client, the image didn't turn out so well here. That looks really funky, but I can assure you that this is a nice top. But the client picked out not only the faucet and fixtures, but these vanities themselves. And so they brought them on site, and our team installed them to get everything nice and tidy here. This is a unique feature here of the client. They kind of wanted this within this footprint of the bathroom to be able to soak, but also primarily shower. So they found this really neat tub, which allows them to soak when they want to. And then we spec'd in this full tile shower, this beautiful picture window, which is facing a very private part of their yard. And they're also tucked kind of in the back of this subdivision, so they can't see any neighbors. And they have this fantastic view while they shower. And we can't see around the nook, but I'm sure you can imagine what's there. The toilet's kind of tucked around the corner. And again, that's a feature, kind of our standard is an ADA toilet, which is a little bit higher off the ground. We also have clients who have a particular toilet that they like, and we're able to accommodate that and fit that on site.
Jeff, Tim, we have a question from Nancy. She said that she's surprised to see recessed lighting. I thought those were energy wasters. Has that changed?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nancy. So a lot has come in terms of lighting. Is all these lights we see that are LEDs. So they're very energy efficient. They don't use a ton of energy. And then the other part about energy, when we're thinking about this whole house and the envelope, is any air leakage. So that's a penetration into the ceiling, into that attic space, and how well is it sealed from cold air in the attic into the house. And these typically have a gasket. And so that gasket has with the help of two springs, It's gasketed really nicely onto the stair, so there's not a lot of air leakage. So I hope that helps to answer it. Is one kind of from the whole house envelope, we air seal it. And then the other thing is the LEDs use very little energy. That's a great question. And a great example of just firing off your questions as things come to your mind and you want to get some answers. Please don't hesitate to put it in that Q&A button in the webinar. All right. So this was shot here. They're getting ready to move their bedroom supplies in. But they knew, again, this kind of private part of the yard, they wanted to have a beautiful view out there. So we went with the triple window to bring a ton of light in. And they're going to have plenty of space here for their bed, which we can see is there in a box, and then a large closet here. So to be able to accommodate everything that they need. And in this case, working with the clients, they didn't have a ton of furniture that they wanted in the bedroom. And so that's how this room was laid out. But we always work with clients. We help get the furniture that they know they're going to bring with them and design these spaces so that everything can fit without wasting a whole lot of space. When we're thinking about designing small homes, we want to keep them small, but that's not to say that all the key things that you want in your house can't fit. So Jeff and I work diligently with clients to try to get everything in there.
And Tim, Bob was wondering, what's the size of the bedroom? Do you know?
Yeah, we'll take a look at the floor plans after,
Okay.
and that should have the size on it for you.
I'm able to pull that up. It's 10 foot by 8 going across, and then 13, almost 14 feet in depth. So along the wall that the window's on, that's almost 14 feet, and then 10 and a half with the closet.
So this dimension is 14, and then going across. So I believe the client's designed around a queen size bed for this size room. A brand new bed, a bed in a box. Awesome. So let's go take a look around the corner here. The question earlier about energy efficient lights has me thinking about this house and how energy efficient it is. So when we design our house, there's not only building code, there's stretch energy code, and then increasingly so, especially more in Massachusetts right now than Maine, more strict guidelines coming in terms of energy efficiency. So we'll see in a minute the basement that uses an insulated concrete form. So there's insulation on two sides, and the middle gets filled with your typical concrete and rebar that support the house. But that way that foundation is really well insulated. Our house that sits on top, that has fiberglass in the walls, as well as 1.5 inches of foil-faced foam around the entire house. And then up top in the attic, we're typically blowing in cellulose. And so that's 16 to 18 inches. So R60 in the ceilings. And this helps these houses be cozy, but also meet all those energy codes. And then thinking back to those mini splits, it's helping reduce heating and cooling loads year round. All right. So here we're in the entryway. The clients, again, designing with the future in mind. In the future, they wanted a garage, but right now they didn't need it. So they have their entryway here to be able to come into the house. And then let me turn the corner. I have a closet right here. So for entry closet, kick your boots and shoes off, hide them away, hang up your coats, kind of everything that they need is right there at the door. So let me see if I can back up here. So thinking about in the future, this roof, the roof on this house is 12-12. It's very steep. And what that allows is we've blown in our insulation in the ceiling, but in the future, the center line of that roof is almost 9.5 feet tall. So if these clients ever wanted to add a second story, what they'd be able to do is basically knock out this closet right here. These are the stairs down to the basement. If they remove this closet here, they'd be able to staircase up to the second story and finish it. So that allows them to move up in the future if they want. And then for now, kind of the more immediate space is downstairs. So this is a full basement. You can tell these photos are taken, the construction wasn't totally done. But I think it's a great opportunity to look at kind of all these features and take a look at what the clients have in mind for the future. So first, looking up, all these shiny things you're seeing, this is that ductwork I was talking about earlier. So we have our air handler, and this is sending the conditioned air, either heated or cooled, to various parts of the house. And then there's a return duct going back to that air handler, and it's all wrapped in insulation, which again helps this house be very energy efficient. So our basement here, you'll see this is all drywall, and these drywall seams are just butted together. If the client ever wanted to tape and mud those seams, they could finish it, and then prime and paint and be ready to have a finished room. The connection between our basement and our house, it's a little hard to see, but this has been spray foamed. And so this not only insulates, but it helps air seal. So it helps prevent any air from coming in between that gap where the house meets the foundation. So looking around, behind this drywall is that ICF, the insulated concrete form. And so the reason you need to add drywall to that is as a fire break between the foam and then our space. But again, it makes it super easy to finish this into a room. So let's check out over here in the corner. With a full basement, the clients were able to accommodate a heat pump hot water heater. So you'll look over here, and the bottom part looks like a normal hot water tank, and the top there is a heat pump. So it's taking energy in the air in the form of heat and helping heat up the hot water, which is then being run through the house. And this, in order to do this, you do need a certain volume of space, and the full basement allows you to do that. An added benefit of this, and honestly, along with using the mini split systems, is they dehumidify. So this is going to help keep that basement nice and dry, but there's honestly no chance of water getting in here. So the detail on the outside of this wall that we can't see is the entire thing is coated with a rubberized membrane that sticks to that foam. It's brought all the way down and over the footing, and that's filled with about 2 feet of crushed stone in kind of a French drain style drain that is then drained away from the foundation. So any water that's coming down or moving through the soil would hit this rubber membrane, travel down into that French drain, and immediately be moved away from the foundation. All right.
Question from Bob. What about the electrical outlets in the basement? How can you do that afterwards?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a couple ways to go about it. So one, we could plan ahead, and we could have coils of wire with outlets ready to be dropped down and installed, or this would be an on-site thing with your electrician. And so then the electrician will be able to run the outlets that you need. So in this case, they knew they weren't going to finish this for several years. So they weren't going to spend the money up front to have all those placed out, because they weren't sure exactly where they wanted all those things. But if you knew in advance, you could prep. You can see here, lighting is installed, and there's a switch for that when you come down the stairs. So if you knew you were going to finish this right away, you could plan on where you wanted outlets and lighting. If you're saying, hey, I'm going to do it down the road, it's totally possible to tie in the panel and to be able to do all of that. And what is nice about this Nudura insulation is you could basically carve out where you want those electrical boxes and recess them. And then this drywall is going to come over. So you're going to know exactly where you want it. All right. My images are a little funky here. They don't have 2 washers and dryer. So here, speaking of electrical, the panel is down here in the basement. They knew exactly, when they came right down the stairs, they want their washer and dryer there. We spec'd in the utility sink. So when we were preparing this foundation, we spec'd all the drains and proper plumbing stubs so that this finished basement can be exactly what they want it to be. All right. Another aspect of this basement is columns. So we obviously have these 2 columns in our basement to support the house load above. But we designed this. Let's see if we can really see it here. Yeah, it's a little funky, but we used some L-vells here, and this allowed us to have a greater span between where the house is supported on the outside and the posts in the middle. And the goal there is, in the future, they know that where these posts are now are going to be buried in walls. So they're going to have a bedroom in one space. They're going to have their living room space out here. And I forgot I haven't even turned over here. So this is fantastic walkout. This is not BICF. This is typical framing, which has then been insulated with Roxol, and the rough openings and windows and doors all installed. And again, they'll be able to finish this when they're ready to turn this into their living room. But this is that same side of the house, kind of when we're up in the kitchen, facing southeast. So it's going to bring a lot of light in here. And it's going to be a really, really great space for them. All right. Any questions about this basement while we're down here looking around? I guess I'll say just looking at this framed portion, some of the houses we call DIY shells. So the homeowner, we would work to do all the design and bring the house parts, and the homeowner can finish it. And this kind of stuff with the walkout basement is a great example where the homeowner is able to do some framing. They're not framing an entire house. They're not framing a roof. It is just one wall, but we're able to have all the windows and doors ship with the house. And then it's a fairly straightforward finishing scope. This will be ready to receive drywall. Our basement slab here, just to note, going on the energy train, underneath that is 2.5 inches of foam board. So this basement is not only insulated on the outsides, but from below, so that this floor is going to stay temperature regulated, and again, water free. Awesome. All right, well, let's head back upstairs. They have a little storage nook under the stairs as well.
Lots of storage in this basement.
Yeah. And any insights from finishing that basement, Jeff?
Yeah, so the way that they had laid that out with the nice 2 really large windows down there on that southeast facing wall, they're going to be able to turn one of those into a bedroom and one into their living room window. Just thinking in advance, when you're down in that basement, it's very visually striking to have that much daylight in a basement. So it's a really cool design. I might poach that idea for my own ADU.
Great. Let me actually go now. I have a couple photos just to show what this basement looked like before the house arrived. Oops. Back. So this is that Nudura ICF, the insulated concrete form I was talking about. And so the walls were built, the windows were framed out as needed. And then around the corner, this has yet to receive that rubberized barrier that I was talking about, but that would go on top of this, along with that foundation footing drain before any backfill happens. But here's a picture of, let's see, before. Here we go. Here's that walkout section. So we obviously saw the finished form, but this is how it's done on site. So concrete is going to get filled and everything else. This wall is totally open. And once that is poured, that wall is able to be framed before our house parts arrive. And it's structurally all tied together. Awesome. So I talked a little bit about the roof on this one. So this is that 12-12 roof. This is once the house arrived, the roof is up and on, and the siding's pretty much on. There's a little bit in the entryway there that needs to get done. But like I was saying, it's a very, compact first floor, but in the future, they'd be able to expand up here, add windows on the gable end or dormer one side, and gain a ton of living space upstairs. Again, removing that one little closet inside gives them the space to build a staircase. So all of that was thought out during the design phase. And I had one more photo. Let's see here. Yep, we've already seen all these on the inside. Great. So let's take a look at the floor plan. So this is what we worked through. Let's find it here. Too many PDFs. Great. We'll take a look at what we just saw. So this is that large kitchen. Again, the plan is now to have a small dining table and a small living area. But once they move that living area downstairs, they can have a full eat-in kitchen, have some large furniture, all all inside with that beautiful light. In the summertime, when it's not too buggy up in Brunswick, they'll be able to enjoy their deck right off of that room. The bedroom here, Jeff already gave us these dimensions that Bob asked about. So they're able to fit their bed, a decent size closet, and then again, their bathroom here with a double vanity for linens, and they knew their washer and dryer were going to be down in the basement. We fit that on the front, on the first floor. Downstairs, this is their plan. So we were down there in that bit large open space, and they were planning to basically make that utility closet with that water heater behind a door and walled in, adding in a second full bath. That bedroom would, like Jeff said, take up one of those large windows, and then have their big finished great room and hide the washer and dryer in a closet. Any questions about this as we look at the floor plans? I'll point out that this is a very typical packet for us. So when we're working with clients, we're going back and forth, we're making edits, we're redlining things, but we're also showing these renders. So we're working with the CAD software to generate renders so that, you know, before this thing is ever built, before we're under contract, we're trying to visualize and understand, you know, what that space is going to look like. How's it going to feel? Where are the windows? Where are the cabinets? And even down here, like what would that finished basement space look like? So we're able to generate these renders in our CAD programs to help folks, you know, visualize and understand exactly not only how does it look and what's the flow going to be like, but, you know, exactly when it arrives and it's finished, how will it feel? Great. Any other questions as we're going through? I didn't talk much about this covered deck. So this is a really neat feature that we've done on a lot of homes, especially when you're thinking about a small house on a smaller footprint. How do we still have that entry space, you know, where you can get out from the weather, you know, especially in Maine and Massachusetts, whether it's snow or sleet or rain, you know, where can you keep your shovel, kick your boots off, have a place to put an umbrella. And this is a great way to incorporate that in a very small footprint. That makes all the difference for when you're coming into your house. So let me go back to that image here. Norris.
Charles has a question too, if the owners are considering doing solar panels.
Yes, that's a great question. So in this case, yes, I mean, you can tell they have an enormous amount of roof space. I was talking earlier about that southeast exposure that they have. That's on the back side of this house. So they have solar potential. I do get asked about solar all the time. So basically, in our design phase, you know, we're going to be on site, we're going to be meeting with you and understanding your needs and your wants. So if solar is high on the list, what we'll do during that design phase is making sure that we're orienting our to get good solar gain, but also, and more importantly, is making sure there's enough square footage of roof area to allow that house to be net zero. So we say all our houses are ready. We're ready to receive solar. And during that design phase, we do energy modeling, and that's going to basically tell us what's our projected energy usage. So that'll also tell us how much energy would we need to produce to be net zero. And so in this case, we were able to position the house, make sure there's enough roof for them to, in the future, add solar, that this house can be net zero. And interestingly enough, our office up in Brunswick, they have a large carport, which also serves as their solar array. So they're fully net zero as well. And it's literally, you know, stone's throw away from this house. Awesome. Site work here, kind of just looking at the two. This is obviously our house has arrived and it's roofed. And this is well beforehand. But what we pride ourselves on here at Backyard ADUs is being a one-stop shop. So we're not only doing the design work, doing all that upfront legwork to figure out pricing, but we're there with you the whole way. You know, we're doing the site work, we're doing, you know, in our factory building the house. And once that's arrived, our team swarms to finish it. So we have our electrician, plumber, and HVAC professionals, along with our carpentry teams. And so we're really kind of from A to Z here for the whole process. And it's something we better on because it allows us to really help you and ensure that, through this challenging process of building, that you're getting exactly what you want. Awesome. All right. These are the photos that I had that
I know a lot of people go on our website and look at our different design paths too. So I just wanted to note that this one specifically is the square design path, which we do. If you want to talk about, Tim, how we have our design paths, but we alter them in some ways.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic point. So, obviously you see here is a square. It's two boxes put together, and that makes that square shape. And our design paths are, different iterations of this. Do you want them together in a square? Do you want them more as an L shape? Do you want them more even wings as a boomerang? And we've also built a lot of custom homes, kind of various shapes. But basically in that early process, whether you're looking online at our floor plans or you're off looking at, there's so many floor plans online, we're able to do the best of both worlds, is to maximize the efficiency of modular construction and these design paths, but also ensure that, there's a level of customization that makes it feel like your home, so you get all the things that you want into your house. A great example of this is honestly this house, where we're able to design for what they want now, but also what they know they're going to want and need in the future. And so that what worked best is the square model. Because of the topography, they're able to do that full basement. Other sites, let's say you don't have the basement, the square may still work, but maybe an L shape works better, whether it's in a backyard, whether you're thinking about having a space, the L frames that in nicely. Yeah. So our small home advisors, myself and Jeff, this is a lot of the legwork that we're doing every day, is with clients to figure out, what's the best shape, what's the best path. And part of that too is budget. And so in this case, we work with the client to make sure that they got everything they needed now at this budget, and that it's not breaking the bank, so that they have the ability in the future to add more as needed.
That was the perfect transition, because now the big question, how much is it?
Yeah. Yes.
That's
So
what
it's been a crazy
of a house like this.
Yeah. So, it's been a crazy couple years, obviously with the pandemic, and that's really affected the building environment. This house here is a square on a standalone lot that requires a lot more input. So they had to clear the lot, they had to add a driveway, they had to bring all the utilities off the road. That helped drive the costs up. So this house we see here was about, I think in the mid 300s, I think around like 350, 360. If you pull the full basement off, then it brings it probably right around 3 or thereabouts, 310. If you build this in a backyard, where typically all the utilities are really nearby in the main house, we don't have to think about all the site work of bringing in, running long utility runs. It's probably in the 2s. Yeah, the higher 2s. So that's a big range. I haven't, given you a specific answer, because a lot of this, obviously you look at the house, but a lot of it too is the site work. What's the basement look like? What are the utilities? And those really will impact the cost.
This house in particular is a good, it's over 200 feet off the main road. So this driveway that this picture was taken on is a really long driveway, and bringing the electrical all the way down, putting in this large driveway, were just unique expenses for this kind of a build.
Yeah, that's some great context. And it's a good transition as well as to invite you up to Brunswick. So we have our office for backyard ADUs in Brunswick. Like I said, it's a stone's throw away from this house. So the homeowners are all moved in. You can't go inside of this house, but you'd be able to see it through the woods. You'd be able to visit our office. We have 2 houses up there that you can tour. You can see what we're all about. You can kind of see how we build, what we build. Yeah. And then if you go up to Brunswick, you get to meet Jeff, which is also a pleasure. And in Massachusetts, we're hoping to have an office and show home maybe in the next year. So it's been in the works.
We have a couple of questions. One is just to touch back where you were, is how do you figure out how much getting utilities to a building site will cost? And then to answer a couple other people's questions, if you could just talk about the siding a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like we were saying, the utilities were fairly expensive on this. And that's the kind of thing you want to get a sense of before you start a project like this. So you don't go down the road of designing, of, figuring out all these things you want, only to realize that, something like the utilities is too expensive and going to sink the project. So kind of the way we've structured ourselves is we like to do a feasibility study. It's essentially a site visit where we're going to get our eyes on the utilities, whether we're looking in a backyard, so what's already existing in the main house, or in this case, if it's a raw piece of land, we'd still want to come and do a site visit and assess those things like how far away is it from the road? What's the type of power at the road? How much power is at the road? Can we run that far? Do we need a transformer? Is it city water? Is it well? Is it city sewer? Or do we need a septic? That's another point about this. This is on a septic. So a septic system that helped drive that cost up as well. Septic's typically, $10,000 or more. So what we do is in that feasibility study, we come do that site visit and get a sense of the whole project. So with that, we can give you kind of within 5 or 10% what a house might cost, whether it's in a backyard or on a standalone lot. So that's how we do it. And that's super helpful for homeowners. The siding here, let's see if we can zoom in. So in this case, this is vinyl siding. It's paired with solid corners and window trim as well to kind of give it that classic look. The fascia here, Jeff, do you remember what the fascia is? Is this a PVC board?
I believe it is, yeah.
Yeah, so this is PVC board. What's great is that it does not need to be painted. It's very low maintenance. And then we have our white vinyl soffit in this case. So these are somewhat standard spec for us. It's one of those things that comes down to budget, but also aesthetic. And what are you going for? Some people, we've built a house recently in Massachusetts that went for, much more modern aesthetic. So they had black windows, very limited trim, accent on the front, and cedar soffit. So it really depends on what you're looking for in terms of your design, but also what's going to work best for your budget. But even a house like this, vinyl sidings come a long ways. For the couple decades around, it's thick, it's solid, it doesn't really weather, and it's also very low maintenance. We find that folks really just need to hose it down, every year, every couple of years, and that's going to really help preserve its life. So that's why we're typically using it.
Shout out from the McGuire Meyer crew. They're all here and excited to be working with us. So hello to you.
Awesome. Good to see you guys.
Yeah. They're excited, especially after watching this tonight. So that's great. We also have Bob is curious our experience in Massachusetts and in Vermont. Yeah.
So Bob, I'd be happy to talk with you one-on-one anytime. I've been dealing with Massachusetts and building for years. There's kind of different tiers of it. On our level in the design work, it's pretty straightforward to get engineered house plans. A lot of the legwork I do is on the local level. So what are the zoning rules in your town? What's really going to be allowed? And then it also trickles down to the building department. So what does the building commissioner want to see that's maybe unique to your town? And it's also talking to the DPW. So how do they want to see utilities? Not all those answers we can figure out right away at the feasibility study, but we typically try to start that conversation there. So like I was saying, when we come out and do a site visit, there's background research on zoning, so we can tell you what's possible, but we'll also start calling around to make sure that, in your town, how do they want to see the water hookup, or the sewer hookup or the power hookup. So again, we can give you that whole picture of what's possible and what it might cost. Great. Yeah, and the Meyer McGuire crew, they're a great example. They reached out to us. They had a backyard. They wanted to bring their family closer together, and they wanted to know what was possible. So I came out and did a feasibility study, which is that site visit. I did all the background zoning research, and I joke it's like a bootleg survey. So we try to show exactly what's possible. From there, we're able to populate that budget range, and now we're into the design phase. So we're designing their house. We got an official survey, and we're off to the races to finalize our floor plans, go into the permitting process, nail down our construction costs, and then build them an ADU. All right. I do have a quick, just kind of an overview of this process. So we do start with that feasibility study, which we charge for. We then move into the design process. We take a retainer. We use that money to move the project forward. We've got to pay the surveyor. We have our architect and engineer team, as well as bring in our construction crew on site to ensure the details. That process works towards floor plans, a fixed construction budget, as well as securing permits. If that's all good to go, you're excited to build with us, we'll credit half of that towards your new house. And then we'd go into the construction phase, where, we order those house parts, we do the foundation, get all the utilities hooked up, the house arrives, and then our team is there to finish it and get you all moved in. So if this is interesting at all, you want to learn more, you can reach out to myself. I'll put my email in the chat. And then Jeff is our home advisor up in Maine, if you're up in Maine. If you're outside of Massachusetts or Maine, please don't hesitate to reach out as well. We've done one house in New Hampshire, and we're looking to expand more in New England. And even if we can't build for you, we'd be happy to help point you in the right direction. So I'll put my, oh, thank you, April. Appreciate that. All right, so my email's in the chat, and Jeff's email will be in the chat as well. Before we sign off and this evening, are there any more questions? I know it's late at night, and people have a lot going on between dinner and maybe childcare, and we're beating out Jeopardy here or whatever's on at this hour. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight. Jeff,
Great job
final words?
through this. Yeah, this was you did a great job walking through. It's been a pleasure to work with you and learn the ropes. So this is very excited to be a part of the team and help make some of these dreams become realities for folks.
Awesome. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks, Tim.